Hello, friends. This is either the first video I've posted on here for a long time, or it's the second video I've posted on here recently, and I gave an explanation about why in the last video, which you should watch. Or the next video, which you should watch. If you want the explanation for where I've been, I don't have an explanation. I've been on the main channel, you know that. Anyway, I need to stop blabbing. I took my meds ages ago. I've been procrastinating. I've been doing other stuff. They've worn off now, so here I am. Anyway, yeah, this is the second channel. Hello. This is just kind of where I do stuff that I don't think will fit on the main channel. So like, just before I did a live stream of going through Am I the Asshole? And that is going to be a video that is going to be uploaded. And if you want to catch a live stream of me going through shit, then you can go to patreon.com/SavvyCat and I will be doing more of those there. But today we're doing something different. This time we're doing something a little bit different. It's not that different. We're watching a Matt Walsh video. But the subject matter is a little bit different. So to give a little bit of background here, Matt Walsh uploaded a video that's titled Star Wars is Garbage, and the thumbnail is the new Mandalorian episode with Lizzo and Jack Black, and it says, "Stop watching this crap." And I have a bunch of things to say. I haven't even clicked on the video. It's not a long video, yet I expect myself to be here for a very long time because I'm gonna get real ranty. I'm gonna have a lot to say about this. But yeah, no, for some background, Kat, if you don't know Kat, where have you been? Kat is my flatmate, my best friend. She captions all my videos. She works with me. Kat. Anyway, she is a massive Star Wars fan. She's been into Star Wars like her whole life. She started watching it with her dad when she was a kid, so she's very invested in the Star Wars universe. She's watched everything a bajillion times. Back in November, December, I said I'd watch with her and I'd get into the universe a little bit. So I have spent the past several months watching literally everything. I've consumed everything. I've watched all of the movies twice, and then I've seen all of the TV shows. I've watched Andor twice, and I watched The Mandalorian week by week as well. The only ones I haven't watched are the animated ones, and right now we're watching The Bad Batch. So I'm almost all caught up on everything, all right? I know this lore. Me and Kat have conversations about it all the time, so I know what I'm talking about, and I'm very passionate about it because I've gotten very invested. I personally am really enjoying The Mandalorian. I really love that show. We went to Disneyland. We got this little grogu light stick thing. He's terrifying. You turn him on and he makes this like terrifying baby sounds that go on for way too long, and I want him to just light up without making the terrifying sounds, but I don't know how to do that, so he just stays unlit because I hate it. It's scary. And I'm also drinking water out of my fucking grogu fucking water bottle. Anyway, I really like The Mandalorian. I think it's a great time. I'm having a lot of fun watching it. I look forward to it every week. But in this past episode, a lot of people, especially conservatives, had a massive issue with it, and it's so fucking funny. It's so weird. I really liked this last episode. If you don't know, it was just a fun episode. The show's just a fun show. The like objective of the show has changed a little bit because like, you know, the initial purpose was like find the child, protect the child, find the Jedi, give child to Jedi, you know? And that's not it anymore. They were reunited, so it's a different theme of the show. And like every episode has been like a full story. So in this episode, they just kind of went on a little adventure. Grogu got a babysitter, which was Lizzo, and they went on an adventure. And it was great. It was a good time. We got a full story in one episode, and it still aided towards the overall story of them trying to get back to Mandalore. So overall, I had a good time. But people are racist and sexist and fatphobic. So people hated that Lizzo was there. They're like, fucking fat black woman was on Star Wars. What the heck? It's all gone downhill. So I'm assuming that that's Matt Walsh's perspective. I'm assuming Matt Walsh has a lot of bad Star Wars takes. A lot of conservative men have a lot of bad Star Wars takes. So I'm intrigued to know what he says. So yeah, let's get into it. I've been talking for like 10 minutes. I've started ranting before even clicking on the video. I don't even know what he said, but I'm offended.
The Mandalorian recently surprised fans with 2 cameo guest appearances, Lizzo and Jack Black. The clip of this episode, the scene with Lizzo, went viral. Let's just watch a little bit of this.
Despicable. If that isn't the quactor calling the stifling slimy.
I beg your pardon.
This planet is unrecognizable since he arrived.
I had a feeling you hated me.
I'm disappointed in you, Commissioner. You served my family well. But Captain Bombardier is the love of my life, and I know his heart is true. Sure, he's made some mistakes in the past, but who here among us has not? Is there no room for a little bit of forgiveness in a galaxy so vast?
I am sorry to have disappointed you, my lady. Perhaps someday I can earn such forgiveness from your grace.
Perhaps. As for now, you must live in exile on the moon of Paraquat.
All right.
And as for you...
I don't understand the problem. I don't know what he's about to say, but I'm really confused. I didn't see this going viral. I don't know what he's about to say the problem is. Is there a problem? Is it just that there's a white man apologizing to a black woman? Is that what the problem's gonna be? I don't know what has warranted his response to be like... I'm very curious. I'm sorry I paused him before he gave his response. I'm just like baffled. Let's see what he has to say. Let's see the problem with this scene that I can't find any problems in.
Who's watching
Lady
this show?
Bo-Katan Creed.
Me.
I saw this clip.
I'm watching this, and I'm having a fucking jolly good time. You don't have to watch it. You can fuck off. Stop ruining my fun show, alright? If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Don't try ruin it for everyone who wants to have fun, though. I'm sorry that you hate fun. I'm sorry that you don't like cute little fucking gremlin, goblin, frog eaters. Alright? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you hate him. I'm sorry that you hate fun. I'm sorry that you hate adventures. But, like, go away. This isn't for you then, is it? You don't have to like everything. Just shut up.
It has this cinematic quality of a furniture store commercial. Like the guy who made the ad for Bill's Mattress Warehouse down the street from your house is a more skilled director and cinematographer than whoever's responsible for this utter dreck.
What are you how are you basing that off of like a 30-second fucking clip, bro? You're basing the cinematography and directing off of just a dialogue scene. Pull a dialogue scene from any movie that you like and tell me it's any better than that. This is Star Wars, bro. This is Star Wars. It's got a different vibe. It took me ages to get into the Star Wars universe because it didn't make sense to me. The whole style, everything about it was like very different to what I'm used to. Like the first movie I watched was like Rogue One, and I was like so taken aback. I had to go back and rewatch it after watching all of the other movies to fully appreciate it because I just wasn't used to like the Star Wars style. It has a distinct vibe that if you don't watch it and you're not used to it, it's weird. This is what I expect. I don't know what your problem is.
This is what we get for mindlessly handing our money over to these studios who have been milking the same franchises for decades and just putting the same thing out over and over and over again. They aren't even trying anymore. They don't care. We already know that these studios hate you. They don't respect your intelligence. They think you're an idiot and will gobble up whatever they spew out.
Have you ever watched an episode? Have you ever watched any of Star Wars? I'm really confused as to where this is. How are you making this entire... How are you basing this entire fucking 6.5 minute video? That's why it's only 6.5 minutes, because you watched 30 seconds of this episode and you've only seen 30 seconds of this show. How are you making this entire argument of like Star Wars is overdone? They're feeding you the same thing over and over. It's all shit. They think you're idiots. How are you doing that based off a 30-second clip of dialogue at the end of an episode? You don't know what you're fucking talking about, bro. You don't know what you're talking about. Every single Star Wars show, very, very different. Like, The Mandalorian and Andor are like extremely different shows, and they give us extremely different content, and they're very different from their other shows and from the movies as well. They are all separate. They all have separate writers. They all have different directors. They're all very separate things, and they are not giving you the same story. It's not being remade. They're just giving us new content. People like universes. People like being a part of this universe and learning more about the story. It's a very big, complex story, and they have so much to fill in. There's so much information missing because there's like decade gaps in between everything. So it's cool. I like getting all this new information. I like having more background. I like knowing more characters. I like having more information filled in about this universe and this like time. Like right now I said I'm watching The Bad Batch, and I think it's really cool to now be able to watch, the rise of the Empire, because that's kind of a thing that was skipped over. Watching the rise and fall and everything happening in the middle, I really love that. And I love seeing like new characters and side characters and people who are just living their lives and stuff. I think it's cool. You don't have to like it, but I do.
They know you're going to watch anyway because of the brand. That's all it is.
Yeah, because people like Star Wars. It's because of the brand. It's because people like the universe. People like the stories. People like the characters. People like like I said, there's nothing really like it. It's Star Wars. It's a separate thing. It has its own sort of vibe and its own feel. It's its own thing. You can't really create that anywhere else because it's not this universe. They have a whole different universe that they are building. No one else can do that. So yeah, it is the brand.
Instead of watching the next Star Wars movie or show, you might as well sit for 2 hours in your living room staring at the Star Wars logo on your screen. There's no point in watching the actual, because there's no story anymore. That doesn't matter.
Shut up, dude. So many people tried to say that about this fucking show. Okay. So, The Mandalorian still does have a story. I think people have forgotten that this is how TV used to be. Every episode is its own little story, and it has like little hints for the next episode and for the previous episode. That's what TV used to be. It's one like short little movie that you can sit down, you can put on your TV, and you can watch it. If you're like scrolling through channels, you've never seen an episode of The Mandalorian before, it comes on, you can watch it and enjoy it even though you've never seen another episode before, which is cool. We don't have any TV like that anymore, but anyone could have watched that and enjoyed that. You don't have to have watched the rest of the show. You don't have to have seen anything of Star Wars to have watched that and enjoyed that. Whereas with a lot of other shows, you can't come into it with no context. It doesn't work. You can't just click on an episode of a show and like have it make sense, And like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it did aid in the overarching story. Fucking Bo-Katan got the Darksaber at the end. This story now is moving towards the Mandalorians all coming together and then like working to get their home planet back. That's where they're working towards. They just had to go on a little side quest this episode to go get it. And a few episodes back, they showed us what's happening in Coruscant, which is aiding to the story because I'm sure we need to know more about them, and Moff Gideon has been taken, so we need to find out about that. There's a bunch of stuff happening. And it is all aiding to the overall story. This episode, they just happened to go on a quest in order to aid it. Like, that's what you do in video games and shit, right? You, like, go to get something, and they're like, before you get it, you have to do this other thing. And, like, story doesn't just have to be about a plot moving. Story can also be about character development and relationship growth. And that is what we are getting. We are getting character development, we are getting relationships growing, and we are also having the story move. Watch things properly, please. Would you? Anyway.
And when you watch these shows and these films now, you're basking in the light and glory of a brand.
Okay, the fact that this is all only coming up after this episode, like, they can try to dance around it as much as they like. This is just because Lizzo was in it. They're just pressed because fucking Lizzo is in it, and they're like, fuck you. Otherwise, they would have brought this up sooner. The Mandalorian has always been kind of like this, alright? Especially the past few episodes. It's kind of always been like this. Why was this the straw that broke the camel's back? The only thing that was different was Lizzo was there. Like, let women exist, let black women exist, let fat people exist, just let people exist in these spaces. And like being like the next Star Wars thing, you don't need to watch it. All Star Wars things are bad. What the previous Star Wars thing before this, was that Andor? Because that was like heavily political. All of Star Wars is heavily political. You people can try to say whatever the fuck they want. It literally, the whole thing revolves around politics and like empires and dictatorships and being in the Senate. Like, the whole thing is literally politics, and people try to say it's not political, which is hilarious. But like, Andor specifically has such a big focus around like classism and racism and authority and dictatorship and like a lot of really important messages that conservatives really, really hate, because it's calling a lot of stuff out like very, very openly and blatantly. So I feel like they have a lot of shit against Andor, and then are now taking it onto The Mandalorian for no fucking reason.
Disney should do. The next Star Wars movie should be 2.5 hours of the Star Wars logo on the screen. Or maybe some guy, or maybe Lizzo. sitting on screen and just saying Star Wars over and over again.
I know he's joking, but I would love to sit and just watch Lizzo say Star Wars over and over again. That sounds hilarious. That would be so entertaining to me. Like, it's obviously not the same thing. And, like, watching an episode of The Mandalorian is obviously very different to Lizzo sitting there and just saying Star Wars over and over. And maybe it's the Gen Z in me, but there's something so comical about, like, turning on the TV to just Lizzo sitting there going, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. That's hilarious. That's so funny.
As a story, okay, and I've been trying to tell you this forever. As a story, Star Wars is over.
As a story, Star Wars is not over. There are so much more questions. There are so many questions I have that are unanswered. There's so much more information that I need, that I want. There's so much more. I need so much more. They have so many more stories to tell. It's a universe. It's not one single story. It's a whole universe. It's like a lot of movies and TV shows and stuff are all based in our universe, right? And you're not going to run out of stories to tell here, right? Because this is our universe. It's just the same thing, but they're in like a different universe. They haven't run out of stories because they have an infinite number of characters and there are an infinite number of stories to tell. They're just telling stories set in a different place. That's what it is. So they literally can never run out. They just have to pick a different character to talk about. You could have an Avengers movie set in the Star Wars fucking universe. They'd be different Avengers, obviously, or whatever. But you could have every movie we have just made in the Star Wars universe. You know, you don't run out of stories because there's an infinite number of stories, because there's an infinite number of characters and planets and stars and etc., etc. I like the stories because I'm learning more about the politics and I'm learning more about, you know, how the empire rose and how it fell and like how it affected different people and how people viewed, you know, like the Jedi and how different people lived their lives and what different planets looked like and how everyone was affected differently. And I find it interesting because everyone has different writers, everyone has a different like genre, everyone has a different like direction that they're going. And so I see things from different perspectives and I learn more about this universe. And it's not just, you know, learning about this universe, is that it is a direct commentary on this universe and our politics. And I find it really good conversation. And there's a lot of conversations to be had and a lot of conversations that are started because of this. And a lot of people try to overlook that and pretend that it's not political. But there are some really important things being said in these shows and in these movies that I think, you know, people like Matt Walsh just really don't like. So they want it to end because they don't want to hear more about this anti-fascist stuff that Star Wars puts out. They don't want to see any more of this, like, sending random people of color to prison without checking anything and without knowing if they've done anything wrong or not. They don't want to see that on TV. They don't want to be confronted by like police brutality. They don't want to be confronted by classism and racism, and they don't want to be confronted by, you know, just like people talking so openly about fascism bad. So they're saying that it's over and that none of it matters. It does matter, and it's more important now than ever. Star Wars is extremely relevant right now, and the way they're telling their stories, I think, is very important and a very good, you know, way to look at it. The problem is that people separate it and are like, it's not real, it's fictional, it doesn't apply to our lives, it doesn't apply to our universe. Yes, it does. Fiction and like the media is a direct commentary on reality. You can't really write things that don't correlate to anything that are real. You have to pull things from your brain, even if they're made up. They're like real thoughts. They've come from somewhere, you know? And Star Wars directly, everything that they do is a direct commentary on politics and our political systems and the way the world works and like working towards a better world, working against fascism. It's very much like talking about like emotions and toxic masculinity and choices and good and bad and like being restricted and fascism, and like it talks about everything, and every show focuses on a different part of that, and it's all very important, it's all very good, and the story is absolutely not finished being told. And I don't think Matt Walsh has consumed much of Star Wars ever, so I don't think he's really in the place to be talking about it. I want to know what Star Wars stuff he's actually watched, and if he watched it correctly. He didn't. Who's your favorite character, Matt? Is it Anakin? It's probably Anakin.
Every ounce of story that could be milked out of this premise, it's gone now. And of course, people will say, well, it's the Star Wars universe. There's so many other stories we could tell in the Star Wars universe.
He fucking just quoted me. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, I did say that, and I stand by it. Like, I can't believe he called me out like this. Okay, well, let's see what he has to say as a counterpoint to myself.
The Star Wars universe is over. But the actual universe? Yeah, the actual universe is limitless. There are a lot of stories you could tell in the universe. It doesn't have to be in the Star Wars universe.
Well, then you just acknowledged that there are still more stories to tell in the Star Wars universe. You did a really terrible point of proving yourself there, sir. You did a really terrible job. There's more to tell in the Star Wars universe. Yeah, well, what about the actual universe, our universe? The Star Wars universe exists within our universe, doesn't it? So there's still more stories to tell in the Star Wars universe, as there are still more stories to tell in this universe and any other universe, because there's an infinite number of universes with an infinite number of stories. Just, like, get over it, dude. I'm sorry you don't like politics in your movies and your TV, but, like, I'm sorry, art is political. Like, you can try to pretend that it's not all that you like. They're telling important stories, and a lot of us still want to hear them. And if you don't like them and you don't want to see them, then you don't have to watch. I know that you don't like the conversations they're having. I know that you don't like seeing Lizzo on your screen, but it happens, and you can get over it.
Don't let that stop you.
I won't.
These companies, they hate you, have no respect for you. They're not even trying to make quality content.
You want to talk about trying to make quality content? You watched a 30-second clip from a TV show and sat down and decided to make a whole video about it, where you said the same thing like 10 times. You want to talk about quality content? Like, look at you don't even fucking edit your videos. You have so many long, just silent pauses of like 30 seconds because you don't know what to say, and then you just repeat exactly what you just said. You want to talk about quality content? And I'm not sitting here saying that I make the most high quality content in the world. I'm aware that I don't make the most high quality. I'm sitting here watching him talk about watching a video for 30 seconds. Like, but I'm self-aware at least. I'm not trying to make great content. I'm just talking about shit that I'm passionate about and that I want to talk about and that I find entertaining. And he's just here shitting on things for no fucking reason and doesn't want people to have fun and enjoy things. And it's just shut up, man. Okay, so that was the whole video. He only talked about it for like literally 5 minutes. He didn't go into anything that I thought he would. Like, he made less points than I thought. Like, he didn't have any valid points even if he went into what I thought he was going to go into, but he had 0 points. He didn't even say anything. There was not a single thing of substance in that because he's obviously never watched the show and has like never watched Star Wars. And if he did, he watched like the originals, maybe the prequels, like years and years ago. And then he went, yeah, okay, I'll watch one of the sequels. He went in and saw a black man and a woman and immediately left and was like, Star Wars is over. This story is finished being told. There's no more Darth Vader, so no more Star Wars. That's probably what happened. And he's held that for a really long time and hasn't bothered watching anything else or listening about anything else and just doesn't want anyone else consuming anything that's at all woke. It is woke. I don't know why I did that. The whole thing is just anti-fascism and like anti-government. That's literally the whole thing. Yeah, he didn't go into anything that I thought. I had so many points prepared for when he was gonna talk about like Star Wars not being political and being ruined by politics and being woke and like fuck women. That's where I thought he was going. He didn't. Which, you know, I'm glad, but also he had he didn't have anything. He didn't even have like bad points. He just had no points. If you want to hear me go into detail about all those other points of wrong Star Wars opinions from a lot of conservative men, Kat and I are doing a podcast about it. We are filming it in a few days. It'll be up in a few weeks. So if you want to hear more of our Star Wars opinions, then go subscribe to our podcast. And if you want that a week early, you can go to patreon.com/savvycat. You get a bunch of other perks as well, and it starts as little as £1 a month, and I appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Watch The Mandalorian. It's so fun. I love The Mandalorian. I'm very excited for next week's episode. I love my weekly grogu time. I love watching The Mandalorian. I have a lot of fun. I'm really excited for all the new stuff they've just announced. I love seeing more of this universe and I love knowing more about it and like watching this universe just building it more and more complex and detailed and real. I think it's great. So fuck you, Matt Walsh, and everyone else who has a bad word to say about The Mandalorian, all right? You don't have to like it, that's fine. But like, don't pretend that it's not because you don't like women. I'm gonna leave that there. If you want to hear more of our Star Wars opinions, go check out the podcast. I've already said that. I'm gonna say it again. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, I'll see you next time. All right, bye.